I'd like to call to order the Judicial and Public Safety Committee, DuPage County, May 17th. Roll call, please.
Chair Renahan.
Here.
Member Chaplin. Here. Member Covert. Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Garcia. Member Kajewski. Member Ozog. Member Pachalski. Member Schwarzy. Member Salmon. Member Zay.
All right, great. We have a quorum. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
All right, thank you. So good morning, everyone. Today on the agenda, you see we have a good amount of cleanup. So that'll be some fun in addition to our regular action items. So today we'll be hearing from Deputy Director of Juvenile Probation, Ray Stubner. So thanks for coming in today. He'll be giving a brief review of juvenile probation and diversion in DuPage County. One budget transfer I'd like to draw your attention to is from the Sheriff's Office. Chief Torp called me earlier this year and explained that the Sheriff's Office was looking to expand their honor guard from 3 to 9. And the current guard uniforms I heard were not looking very sharp as they should, and they were beginning to wear out. So to give the honor guard the appropriate uniforms and respecting of the role that they play, there's a cost of $1,000 per person. This $9,000 transfer will give the Sheriff's Office the needed funds in their uniform budget to outfit the entire group. And it's very fitting that this item is up today. This past Sunday was the Peace Officers Memorial Day, and we're in the middle of National Police Week. So I know I speak for the whole JPS committee and thank our law enforcement partners that serve and protect this county every day. So one reminder, we do have a tour today. Anyone who's signed up with that, Jason has the details. Where's the meetup for that, by the way?
We'll be over there at 11. However, I will bring a group over at about 10:45 if you meet outside the county board office. Please, if you don't have a mask, I will get you a mask. We do need that while we're in the jail. So,
all right, great. Thanks, Jason. With that all being said, I call for a motion to approve the May 3rd minutes.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additions, questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Those minutes pass. I'll take a motion to approve procurement requisition DTP 017422 contract to Max Body Shop for auto body repairs this is DOT and Sheriff, June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2023, not to exceed $85,000. We have a motion and we have a second. Any questions here? All in favor? Right. Any opposed? That passes. I'll take a motion to approve JPSR 0207-22 resolution revision to the personnel budget for the jury commission. Motion, a second. Questions here? All in favor? All right, that's approved. I'll take a motion to approve budget transfer. This is a transfer for the 18th Judicial Circuit Court Jury Commission, moving from part-time help regular salaries in the amount of $16,525. This is to support the item that we just voted on, moving from a part-time to full-time legal secretary. Do I have a motion? Motion,
Second.
Garcia, second, Chaplin. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes. I'll take a motion on budget transfer. This is for the state's attorney's office from new program requests and interpreter services and other professional services software licenses, moving over to pay for increased costs of translation and transcription services from body worn cameras. Do you have a motion? Do you have a second? Questions or comments here? You know, I did have a question on this myself. So we had talked to Bob Lyons. I think he's on the line. Can you give us just a little bit of explanation as to what this is? This body worn cameras is kind of a new subject area.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
It is more for the during the COVID period. A lot of trials weren't going, so this is more of everything kind of catching up. There's a lot of this is less body worn cameras and more like I don't know, interviews in police stations, different things like that. And so we need both the transcription of the videos, and now there's the need also for translation when they're not English speakers. And our volume is a lot higher than it's been in the past couple of years, just because of the nature of COVID and trials not going and hearings not going. So it's kind of like the backup of a train, and now we're pulling out of the station again.
Okay, do we have any questions? We're a little bit of a muffled volume of sound here we have in the room. Any questions on this item? States for seconds. All right, well, thank you, Bob, for filling us in a bit. All right, so all in favor? Any opposed? All right, that is approved. I'll take a motion on another budget transfer. This is for the sheriff's office, transferring from contingencies wearing apparel to the current honor guard team being expanded, as I said earlier, $1,000 per deputy. We had a motion second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, great. That's approved. I'll take a motion to combine consent items 9A through J. These are all change orders, decrease and close. The motion a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Great, those are combined. I'll take a motion to approve 9A county contract 4851 one serve to public safety direct, decrease and close $202,511.44 for the sheriff's office. 9B county contract 5042 one serve James Corcoran MD, reduce and close to $23,848.11 for the sheriff. 9C for the sheriff 5044-0001 serve Alma Mia Martia MD, decrease $79,275.72. 9D county contract 5046-0001 serve Margaret Tomei MD, decrease close $25,065.21 for the sheriff. 9E county contract 5010-0001 serve issued to Gall's Parent Holdings LLC, decrease and close $83,940.40 for the sheriff. 9F county contract 5049-0001 serve Ray O'Haron, decrease and close $29,510.61 for the sheriff. 9G county contract 5043-0001 serve Blaine Puzak MD, decrease and close to $65,987.48 for the sheriff. 9H county contract 2988-0001 to Calcaman Investigation and Research, $12,000 Sheriff's Merit Commission. 9I county contract 5078-0001 serve Clausen Miller PC, decrease $18,869 at 18th Judicial Circuit Court. And 9J change order county contract 4562 MP Acquisition LLC DBA MOPEC, $10,759.25. This is for the coroner's office. So I'll take a motion to approve all of those items. We have a motion. We had a second question. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I mean, we always talk about when there's increases in change orders. This is almost $500,000 in decreases in the sheriff's office. So it's good to see. We always make a big deal when we have changes, but we never bring it out when we have decreases. So
Yeah. Yep.
it's
I
good to
think
see
you're right.
increases.
Large budget, lots of decreases. So thank you for bringing that up. All in favor? Any opposed? Those are approved. I'll take a motion to approve grant proposal notification 029-22 State Criminal Alien Assistance Program FY 2021. I have a motion. I have a second. And I had asked the sheriff's office, I think Under Sheriff Moore maybe is on the line. Okay, our deputy chief. All right, someone, just because it has a very suspect state criminal alien assistance program, so I think we'd like to know what that is better, even though it's longstanding. Okay.
When I told
Thank
them
you,
I'd be
Chief
over
Turk.
here this morning, they'd asked me to answer this, so I just got a briefing from them. That is for people that have been incarcerated on state charges. They're not only here as an INS hold, but we do get reimbursed by the federal government. It's been happening every year for the time that they're here only on criminal charges. There's nothing to do with them being detained due to their immigration status.
Great, I think that's a great educational moment for us, so thanks, Chief
Okay,
Turk.
thanks.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, that's approved. And I'll take a motion to approve grant proposal notification 030-22 Comprehensive Law Enforcement Response to Drugs Grant for the state's attorney, $150,000. Motion, we have a second? Do we have a second? Oh, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Thank you. I'll take a motion on an authorization for overnight travel for the Emergency Management Coordinator to travel to Orrville, Ohio, June 6th through the 9th, 2022, to have Wilbert Mast Company install a pneumatic mast on rapid 4, the new prototype communications vehicle. Everything is covered by Illinois law enforcement alarm system, so there is no additional cost. This is for the Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. Been a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great, that passes. We have a second authorization for overnight travel. This is the same trip for the emergency management reservists to travel, the same trip. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Great, that passes. I'll take a motion to receive and place on file the Public Defender's April 2022 statistical report. Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? That is placed on file. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, Grace Dubner, our Deputy Director of Juvenile Probation. Please come on up and tell us the latest on juvenile probation and diversion. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Chair Renan. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to come speak with you today about some of the work that we're doing at the Probation Department in the Juvenile Division. First slide, please, Wendy. The first thing I'd like to share with you is that we are a Kids at Hope organization. So Kids at Hope started in Arizona. They partnered with Arizona State University and they did some research and studied the effects of hope on resilience. From that came 3 universal truths. Children succeed when they're surrounded by caring adults who believe they can succeed. We express this in our office with the saying that we have all kids are capable of success, no exceptions. Second, children succeed when they have meaningful, sustainable relationship with caring adults. When a young person comes into the probation department, that's one of the things we're going to do. We're going to sit down with them and chart out who are those caring adults in their life? Who can they go to when they need support, when they need guidance or a problem to be solved? The third universal truth is that children succeed when they can articulate their future. So another thing we do, we'll sit down and we'll ask them, where do they see themselves in 5 to 10 years? So most of the time you get that question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, we do ask what career or what they want to do for a living, but there's 3 other things we ask. We ask them to think about their family 5 to 10 years from now. What's their family going to look like? Are they going to get married? Are they going to have kids? Where will they live? We'll ask them, what would they do for fun and recreation 5 or 10 years? So they could do whatever they want, provided it's legal. What would you do? What are you going to do for fun? And then lastly, we ask, what will they do to give back to their community? How are they going to make their community a better place? So we do that to get them out of their present day situation and look into their future with hope. Kids at Hope, it's not a program, it's more of a cultural framework and a philosophy that we use when we work with our kids. Next slide, please. So we have basically 6 units within the Juvenile Division. We have a home detention unit. Home detention allows minors who are pending court cases to remain at home in their community, going to school, counseling, work. They're supervised on electronic monitoring, and they're placed on home detention through a court order, and they're taken off home detention with court order. Second unit is investigation. So any minor that is being sentenced in DuPage County juvenile court has to have a sentencing report completed. So I have an investigative unit that will interview the minor, they'll interview the parents, they complete a risk assessment, they complete a trauma assessment. They'll send out information to the school, get background information from the school on the minor. If they've been involved in any counseling appointments or perhaps hospitalizations or maybe involved with DCFS, we also seek that collateral information as well. So at the end of that, the investigator compiles all the information, puts it in what we call a juvenile social history report for the court, and the judge uses that to make the sentence for the minor, whether they get probation or supervision. Third unit is casework. Casework is probably what the public perceives what a probation officer is. So somebody gets sentenced to probation or supervision, they're assigned a caseworker. So the caseworker makes sure that the minor adheres to the court order conditions, fulfills their court requirements, but then also acts as a change agent. So they work with that minor, they work with their family to find out why did they come into the system, how are they going to get out of the system, and how are they not going to return to the system. So within the casework unit, we have some specialization. We have an officer that handles all minors who are on probation or supervision for a sexually related offense. I have a Spanish speaking officer that handles the cases where the parents or the family speak Spanish. I have a duly involved unit where an officer handles all minors who are involved in DCFS and with us in probation. I have an officer who handles residential placement, also domestic battery, adolescent domestic battery. And then we have an intensive probation program, and those are for the kids who require more supervision, a little bit more external controls until we can tap into the internal drivers. I have a Strong Roots Family Therapy program where we currently have one clinician that is going out into the community and does home-based family therapy. It's modeled after some evidence-based programs called multi-systemic treatment and functional family therapy. And that is intensive family counseling that takes place in the home and in the community. We have community service. So I have an officer who's in charge of making sure that all minors who are ordered to do community service get a community service site, they complete their hours, problem solve any issues that might come up, try to place a minor, not only in close proximity to where they live, but maybe where there's an interest that they have that was generated through some of that time traveling that we did, that I talked about. And then last, I have a court diversion unit. So that's the unit I'm going to speak a little bit more detail about today. Next slide, please. So the court diversion, there's basically three ways a minor can come into the juvenile justice system. So one is through detention. So we have a detention screening unit. If a police officer arrests a minor and they're seeking detention, it's a serious offense. Maybe they feel the minor is likely to flee, or somebody's person or property is going to be in jeopardy if they don't have the minor detained. So call the detention training or detention screening unit, and they'll screen the case for detention. If the minor is detained, that fast tracks that case into the court system. The second way is through felony screening. So if the minor is arrested for a felony, usually a serious felony, the police officer will call the state's attorney's office directly. They'll screen the case for felony approval. If it's approved, then that case is fast tracked into court. The third way the case comes into the system is through our court diversion unit. And that's the most prevalent way. So most cases that come into the system, a police officer makes an arrest, they send the police report to the probation department, and they usually make a recommendation as to whether they want the case handled in court or it could be handled at probation at the court diversion level. The three main functions of the court diversion unit are to screen police reports, conduct preliminary conferences, and supervise juveniles on informal supervision. Next slide, please. So screening police report. So like I said, the police officer makes an arrest, they send the report to us. The police officer gets that the probation officer gets that police report, and they're going to look at the offense, not only what the offense is, but the severity of the offense. Is it gang involved? Is it premeditated? Is there violence in that offense? They'll also read in that report what the police officer reported as the youth's attitude regarding the offense. How did they react when they had the contact with the police officer? Have they had any prior involvement with the police department or court? They'll look and see about the parents' background. The parents have prior police contacts and court involvement. They'll also see if there's a victim involved and what the statements of the victims were and how much restitution might be owed. And then they also look at what the recommendation of the police officer is. So, oftentimes a police officer might recommend court, and then after reviewing the report, if we feel it's a case that we can divert from court, we'll speak with the officer, explain kind of the process and what we're thinking, and we usually come to an agreement. Next slide, please. So once we make our recommendation, we send that up to the state's attorney's office. So if we're asking to be able to divert the case and do a preliminary conference, it's ultimately the state's attorney's office that makes that decision. That I can tell you that we're pretty much in sync 99% of the time. What we're recommending, they're going along with. If they don't go along with diversion, then they direct file that case in court. But if they do approve a preliminary conference, what that involves, it's a meeting with the youth and their parents and the probation officer, and often the police officer that was involved in the arrest. They discuss in detail the offense. They also discuss what's going on with the minor at home and at school and in the community. If the youth takes responsibility for their behavior and they and their parents both agree to have the case handled at the diversion level, then the probation officer makes an ultimate decision of proceeding, either will divert the case or refer the case to court. So they're looking at, all of this information, and then they make that recommendation as to what to do. Now, they can divert the case and close it at conference. So it might be something that some time has gone by since the minor was arrested, since it was processed through the police and through our department. It's clear the minor, has accepted responsibility and learned from the situation, so to speak. Maybe the parents have issued consequences for accountability. Maybe they got the minor involved in some supportive services already. So the case could be closed at conference. So just coming in, having to meet with everybody and discuss all this might be enough. But more often than not, the decision's made to put the minor on informal supervision. And that can be anywhere from a period of 3 to 12 months. Next slide, please. So if the minor is placed on informal supervision, they'll have rules they have to follow. Everybody placed on formal supervision has the 3 major rules. They have to obey all the laws. They have to follow the rules at home, and they have to go to school and good attendance and behave at school, good behavior at school. So in addition to that, through the course of this conference that they had and a risk assessment that they do and a mental health evaluation that they do, they may have the minor do a counseling program. That might be part of the informal supervision. They may have to complete community service hours, submit to drug tests with negative results. They might have to complete an essay about something or an online course. We have a couple of online courses that deal with retail theft and marijuana. We'll have kids complete, and sometimes we'll have the parents complete them as well. Some kids who are old enough, we'll have them obtain and maintain employment, or we'll want them to get involved in a pro-social activity. And then if there's restitution involved, we'll set the restitution as part of the informal supervision plan. So at the end of all of that, whether they're on for 3, 6, 9, or 12 months, they have to provide proof that they completed all of this. And if they do, and they satisfactorily complete informal supervision, their case is closed. They never have to worry about coming to court for it. And soon after, it'll be expunged. So they don't fulfill the conditions, then the state's attorney's office gets notified and make the decision on whether to proceed in court. Next slide, please. So just to share a little bit of data with you. So for the activity data, the police reports that they're screening, if you go back to 2019, which probably seems like a long time ago now, they screened 260 police reports. That number dropped considerably during 20 and 21, obviously due to COVID, starting to come back up in 2022. For the first 4 months, there were 110, so they're on track to do 330. Conferences completed, again, 2019, they did 158 conferences, dropped way down in 2020, again in 2021, and 2022 it's coming back up. Next slide, please. So then we're also looking at the outcomes. Are we diverting the right cases from the system? So are they completing the program successfully, and or are they getting rearrested while they're on the program? So you can see from the data, in 2019, it's, just 93%, I believe we had success rate, 98% in 2020. I'm sorry, 94% in 2020. Helps if I have my readers on. 94% in 2021 and 100% so far in 2022 of cases that were placed on informal supervision is satisfactorily completed. And then whether they were rearrested while they were on the program, 19, there were 4 kids out of 100, basically 4%. 1 in 2020 and 1 in 2021, and no kids have been rearrested in 2022 while on the diversion program. So in closing, I'd just like to emphasize I've got a great group of officers, supervisors, support staff that work tirelessly with a lot of difficult situations and difficult cases. We can't do this work alone. We have great partnerships with local community treatment providers and the health department, local law enforcement, and the sheriffs, the state's attorney's office, public defender's office. Again, thank you for your time today. So I'll try to ask any questions if you have any.
Member Ozog?
Thank you so much for your presentation. What would you say anecdotally is the response of the parents generally? Are they pleased to see the diversion and are they supportive? What is your general impression?
Yeah, so the majority are definitely pleased to get some help. You know, other situations, you know, maybe this was a one-time occurrence and parents are kind of unsure what to expect, but I think after they get in and they see what our objective is, they're pleased with it. Small number of parents might be resistant, might be skeptical of the system. So there's a wide range of that, but I would say the majority of the parents see it as support or soon after realize that, you know, this might be helpful to them and their child.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Member Garcia?
Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation today. You guys have a very difficult job and I really appreciate the work you put into it. You're saying that you're possibly going to be over 300 cases for court diversion this year. How many people are in that unit total?
So I have one full-time officer, I have a part-time officer, and then I have another officer that helps out between adolescent domestic battery cases and diversion. And then I have a supervisor who dedicates about 50%, 45, 50% of her time to that unit.
It's one full-time, one part-time, and that tells me a lot. I kind of understand why parents' records apply when you're trying to decide on the court diversion, but it also gives me pause because it's like, you know, you hate for some children who have a parent who might be having a bad record and then to be held against them. Is that how much weight do you put into that?
So it's taken in consideration with everything else, right? So, you know, at the end of it, you're looking at all that information and you're making a decision, and we try to divert every case we can. So that's the, you know, that's what the goal is, to try to avoid having to send this kid to court if we don't have to, or recommending that the minor should go to court when they don't have to. So if we give them the opportunity, we tend to give them the opportunity first, and then if they don't live up to their agreement, then it ends up in court. And we basically lose nothing, you know, maybe a little bit of time from the process, but
Okay.
it's just a small piece. There's no way we're going to exclude somebody if everything else is we should conference this kid. It's a low level offense or low risk. They don't have a lot of police contacts, but then their parents have this history. You know, we'll give them that opportunity.
Good to hear that. Okay.
Thank
I'll
you.
hopefully get you more help on that. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Chaplain and then Torrey.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for the great presentation and the good and important work that you do. So looks like you guys have a great success record. So with the children or the kids that come in that, you know, got rearrested. So how do you process them? Do they get another chance in diversion or do they go right to court? Or
Yeah, so typically diversion, if they're rearrested, then they're going back to court.
They're going back to court.
Maybe, you know, there might be some outliers that will say, okay, there's some circumstances around this and we'll continue.
And then how many of the children that are arrested, so how many of them get to go, or how many of them are in diversion compared to going straight to court? Do you know that? I mean,
Well,
is it based on the offense?
Yeah, it's based on the offense. It's, you know, we're also looking at the risk level of the minor, and the services that diversion provides are very minimal, right? So we make these recommendations and then we refer out. They don't have a lot of contact with the probation officer. So if their needs can't be met at that level, then we have to refer them to court. And then they get more, you know, there's more services available if you're on formal probation or have court orders.
Okay, great. All right, well, good. Well, thank you very much.
thank
Appreciate
you.
everything you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Member Torrey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This sounds like a great program. I used to do quite a bit of juvenile work defending juveniles. I haven't done a lot in a while, but it appears that all of what you've said this morning takes place before any of these kids see the inside of a courtroom.
That's correct.
Okay. And I mean, a million years ago, a lot of these things that you're talking about today would take place after a case was filed and it went through the system and you tried to come up with some alternative other than the child going at a juvenile detention center or some other thing. That being the case, do the juveniles whose cases are filed in court still have access to a lot of what you're doing prior to them? You know, let's say a case isn't ripe for diversion, so it has to go to court. Presumably, you still have all of the procedures in place to try to deal with kids who are there to get to some alternative other than a conviction.
Absolutely. So even if they don't make diversion and they end up in court and they end up on probation or supervision, you know, then they're assigned that probation officer. Then we're tapping into more services that we have available. We try to, you know, work with kids in the community. Many years ago, we placed a lot of kids and we didn't get a lot of good data from placing kids. We could take the kid out of the community, put them in a center, teach them things, teach them skills, how to manage their behavior. And then we plop them back in the same environment that they came from, and that behavior, the bad behaviors start to come back again. So we've got away from that. We really try to work with kids in the community, and we work closely with treatment providers. We've got, you know, great network of treatment providers out there that we work with to do in-home treatment. We have a Spanish-speaking therapist that we work with that goes out into the home. We're going to get more success if we can work with that minor in their environment, kind of change that environment for the better.
So given the fact that so many of these kids, when they're arrested, are in the diversion program prior to going to court, I would imagine that there's a significant reduction in the amount of cases that are actually going to court and appearing before a judge.
Absolutely. And the kids that go through diversion, as I showed you in the data, they don't end up going to court. It's the other kids that aren't going through the diversion.
Okay, great, thanks. So that's a great program. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
And then Member Chaplin with our last question.
Yes, thank you. Just one other question. So when the children go through diversion court, is there anything on their record then, or does their record stay clean, or?
Yeah, no, it's clean. Their
It's a-
record's clean.
Great.
They never have to worry about going back to court or addressing that behavior that got them into diversion.
Great.
And then in the case is ultimately expunged at the police department level and at.
Great,
probation
thank you.
level. Thank you.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much for giving us this presentation, and thanks to our court administrator, Suzanne Armstrong. She called me up and said they're doing some great things over there. I think this would be a great spotlight for the county board to learn about, so I appreciate that. And thank you, of course, Bob McCullen, so Director of Probation. So do we have any old business? Do we have any new business? Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. We are adjourned until June 7th. Thank you very much.